say enough positive things to people when they're living. So that's what I enjoy most about the presentations and the whole process of the awards program. And you'll notice during the video that we did this time, I always request letters from our congressmen. And this time we were fortunate enough to have one from all three of them, Congressman Kelly Armstrong, Senator Kevin Kramer, and also Senator John Hoeven all submitted letters. So we were very appreciative of that. We had 37 nominations and she was the ultimate recipient of it. Some things that we're doing differently for 2022, I met with the awards team at the Sheriff's Office, and we are going to be doing the award quarterly going into 2022. We feel that it's just going to add more value to the award and more meaning to receiving the award by awarding it less often. So the deadlines will be, well, it was February 15th, so the mayor's recently selected another recipient. We'll be awarding that in the upcoming future. May 15th will be the next deadline after that, and then August 15th, and then November 15th will be the deadlines following that. So as always, I thank you for your support and letting me share this, the good people in our county with you all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will, excuse me, sorry. We will move down to the City of Dickinson Planning and Zoning Board appointment.
Are we picking one of these three? Is that what we're doing?
Picking all three. So due to the expansion of the ETZ,
Right.
they need 3 members on the city planning and zoning, and so
Those are the only 3 applicants, do we know?
there was 4. Yeah, I just know there was 4, and they reviewed and they've recommended these 3.
Are these all within the ETZ then?
Yes,
Okay.
I think their resumes are somehow attached or something here.
Yes, we are.
Yep. So with that, I would move that we, I don't know if we nominate or appoint the following 3 individuals to the City of Dickinson's Planning and Zoning Commission representing the ETZ. Aaron Johansson, Mike Schwab, and Richard Haugen.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, with that, we have a nomination and a second. We don't have any discussion. We will go into a roll call vote. Commissioner Messer.
Aye.
Commissioner Franchek.
Aye.
Commissioner Marsh.
Aye.
Commissioner Zander.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carried. Stark County Housing Authority Board appointment.
Do we have one, do we get one appointment or 2?
Who's got the portfolio now?
My portfolio. I haven't seen any of these applications before, though, so.
And how many are we?
You have not seen any of these, Bernie?
No, I have not.
Being,
I don't know if we need 1 or 2.
I guess with the fact of Bernie being that portfolio holder, maybe we should table this till and put it on the agenda for next month.
The Stark County Housing Authority has said that right now, they're kind of functioning without a,
Yeah, we don't have enough people.
And-
right.
and
Okay.
They have a meeting tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Do we know whether we get one or two? If we get two, it's easy because we have only two applicants, right?
I'm pretty sure that, Ken, did you not just get put on the board?
Well, I was thinking I did.
I think you did too. If you want to move on to your weed appointment one and go back, I'm gonna go grab my paper and make sure that it's one or two.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
But I'm just wondering, as long as you're checking, was I appointed to that at the time we did portfolios, right?
I believe
Yes.
so. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And is Commissioner Marsh still on that, or did I
Should I give
take
you
his
my-
place?
no idea.
No,
both-
I'm pretty sure that you're both on
I
it.
think we're both on.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So, but I'm gonna go grab it real quick, okay?
right.
So if you'll move on to the weed board one.
Yes.
Commissioner,
Well-
I thought if I could interject, I have to take off, but I opened all them quotes and stuff we got. Two of them did not have a contractor's license in it. The rest are all good, so
Okay,
we won't use them too.
okay,
And we're gonna get them we'll have them posted in the minutes of the meeting, who they all were that
okay,
bid.
okay.
All right.
So
Do we need to make
Do
a-
you want to make a motion?
I
for-
think we should accept all the bids except two, or quotes. Two of them did not have contractor's license.
So
Okay.
I'd make the motion then to accept the contractor bids based on Mr. Heiser's recommendation from his review of those.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll second that.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Without that, Commissioner Zander,
Aye.
Commissioner Marsh, Commissioner Franchek,
Aye.
Commissioner Messer.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carried.
Thank you. I gotta run.
Thank you.
So now are we gonna go through those bids at this meeting yet?
We do not go through those bids at this meeting, Al.
It would take literally hours, because I check for contractor's license and proof of insurance. And we've always done this in the past.
So, but you're gonna get that information.
She already has it.
Okay, great.
And
Thank
we
you.
can we can put that in the minutes to people that bid, so they know, and we're gonna leave the two out that didn't have contractor's licenses.
Okay,
Good,
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
okay, we will move down instead, we did not have any planning and zoning, so we will move down to the weed appointment. With the weed appointment, there was two applications. One of them was Shelley Zeman, the other one was Farron Richards. Shelley Zeman was appointed as the new appointment for the weed board.
Where is that?
With also looking at that we will need to open up another spot in the weed board because there was also another member that did not live in the district that he was representing.
Which one is that? Do we have to confirm the weed board recommendation or not?
Yes, the weed board recommendation from the county weed board is for Shelley Zeman, and may I have a,
Okay, I'll move that we appoint Shelley Zeman to the Stark County Weed Board.
No, second.
okay, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? With that, I ran addresses on that. Guess that's something that we need to maybe run addresses yearly because there is another member. As per century code, they need to live in their district or reside in their district they're representing. And Dwight Schenk does not, and he is not for a few years.
So you need authorization to start that process then?
I need authorization to open up that process for that area.
So what district is that? That's the North Central one?
North Central over by the Dick Taylor area.
Okay. But he lives in North Dickinson. Mm-hmm. And North Dickinson is not in the Stark County, under the jurisdiction of the Stark County Weed Board?
No.
Really? Okay.
I had talked and I talked to the chair and they said that they knew that he didn't live in that zone. They just kind of grandfathered it in for the last 4 or 5 years. But that is against century code.
Does the city of Dickinson, are they actively involved in weed control?
They have their own,
They do.
yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yep.
but their charge is a little different. They don't go out and spray weeds. So the Dickinson City Weed Board goes out and they have a couple of individuals. They'll drive around and they'll find your lot or my lot, and they'll say, hey, there's spurge on there or Canada thistle, and say, take care of it. If you don't have it taken care of in 5 days, 7 days, whatever that thing is, then they'll contract with one of their vendors to go get it sprayed. And I don't know, their public rights of way or their public roads regarding weeds. I don't know. I know that they told me they don't own any equipment. I was under the understanding that they did, and they said they don't. So I guess I'm surprised to hear that the city of Dickinson is in its own little exclusive weed board and are excluded from our whatever district that is. I think it's the north central one. So,
I can't
but,
give
but
an
it is what it is. So.
I
Well,
can't give
you
an
know-
exact date. It was, or the time, I'd probably be off. It was like 2-3 years ago, maybe a little bit more. The city did contract with the county,
Yes.
but they got such a low amount of money that the county was in the hole.
Is there a current districting map for the weed board? Because if the county commission originally had City of Dickinson within its districting map and hasn't changed those lines, then the City of Dickinson, until that gets changed, is still gonna have, however that's districted it out, is gonna be the district lines. That's, because we dealt with this a couple months ago.
This is the most recent map I have, and I show that Dwight lives in that. I mean, it does represent that.
Yeah, and that's a point of clarification. If the city of Dickinson is excluded from Stark County Weed Board, that's one thing. But if the city of Dickinson and he lives in that particular, I'm pretty positive it's the North Central District, then he should be allowed to serve. But again, I don't know the technical part of it, but that's just what I know.
All I was told is he does not live in his district. He does not reside in his district
Well, I
that
know
he
where
is
he lives. I mean,
as he's representing.
and he lives within the confines of that North Central District. So the definition is whether or not the city of Dickinson qualifies as living in the North Central District. That's the point of clarification. I don't know the answer
And,
to that.
you know, with the joint powers agreement, we could probably make that work,
Okay. It's whatever.
the city, and, you know, I'm not sure exactly, but for instance, on vector control, you know, the city does not do any vector control, so by statute, again, I'm not trying to step on Amanda's expertise, but if the city doesn't provide vector control by statute, we're required to do it in the city. So I don't know if there's any overlap on that, and maybe Amanda can find some kind of, I think I know where you're going with that, Neil, is that we should be combining as much with city on things like vector control, weed control.
I mean, yeah, I agree. But the fact of the matter is we had a tough time filling this position last time. We had to open it up for at large, and then we closed it, and then we found 2 people to apply, and the weed board made this recommendation. And I know Dwight Shank has been an active member, and so why force him off if he qualifies as a weed board member? Why force him off the weed board, and then we can't find anybody to take him, and then we got a
Well,
vacancy again. So
can
if
we-
he's- So we should get a clarification. I don't know the answer.
The legal question to this is whether that districting map includes the City of Dickinson. If it does, then he's qualified. If it doesn't, and you don't want it to, then you need to redraw your districting lines. That's the legal question that's presented and needs to be answered.
And Dickinson started their own weed board as of 2 years ago. So we will have to ask them where their lines are. And it's not about forcing him out. It was just century code. You know, we had the choice of go at large. Jessica was a little bit off, so we got her off the committee. So if this is the fact that another member does not live in the residing area which he represents. This is what we have to follow.
Yeah, and I don't know all the dynamics of why the city went out on their own. I would still, based on what I know, based on what I've heard today, I would say the city of Dickinson does reside or does lay within the South North Central District, that Mr. Shank should be able to allowed to serve if he wishes, and if the board wishes to keep him as an active member. I think the separate discussion is how we can do more things, like Commissioner Zander said, collectively with the city, so that we can get these things done in a cost-efficient manner and effective as well. So,
I agree with you. We have to do one for all.
I think what we need to do is just, wait for determination on what the boundaries are and whether or not this individual qualifies under our current rules.
Well, if that's the districting map and it includes the city of Dickinson and he resides in it, then he's a qualified member. If the county now wants to redraw those lines to take out city of Dickinson, you can do that, and then that's when we'll have a different discussion.
yeah, I don't think that serves a purpose.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so,
So that's the case, he can stay on and we can just move on.
So if we leave the districting lines as it is and leave it in Dickinson, then will that overlap to where if the city also gets a weed board?
they have a weed board.
They
I
have
can they have one, without a doubt. I've gotten a nasty gram from them.
There should probably be
I got-
conversations
I've
between the
got-
county and the city
I've
about,
got toad flax on one of my lots, which I'd never heard of, but,
Bernie, have you ever got a notice?
whose responsibilities lay
yeah.
where.
Well, you know, it'd probably be appropriate for you as that portfolio holder to maybe visit the individuals with the city.
I will do that.
I think Sean Soren's on there. I think Trevor Ernst is on there. I think that one other gentleman is on there, and I know Blaine Dukart is kind of the runs with that with Leonard Schwint. So
Okay, I will call them. Stark County Systems User Policy.
So do we have to make a motion or anything on that, or, I mean, if he, we just let it ride?
Well, we're not taking any action.
yeah,
Yep.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah,
And did you already approve Shelley? I don't remember if you guys,
Yes.
okay.
I think we just, I'll look into it until the next meeting and bring more information.
I have an answer.
Oh, okay.
If we want to go back to the other board that we need one for the Stark County Housing Authority Board, I checked the sheet I have, and Ken, yes, you were nominated to that board. Bernie is on it. There was only one open spot, and their recommendation was this Wendy Moffett. That's who they recommended for the board. Then there's obviously this one other application, but we only need one person appointed to that board.
in addition to Bernie and myself.
You're already on that board.
But, okay, so you're saying one more.
We have
from
one
here.
more spot. Yep.
Well, first of all, if I'm looking at this correctly, there were, what, two interested parties?
Correct.
First of all, I'm not sure we need two county commissioners on that. And I'm happy to say that I'm glad to see that there's other people interested in serving on boards. And if the commission would agree, I would be willing to step down from that board to allow both of these applicants on. And I think it's just a signal of people in the community stepping up to take on some of these things, and I'm happy to step aside.
Okay.
I really am.
With that being said, do I have a motion for both of these?
Madam Chairman, so moved. I move that we appoint Wendy Moffett and Terica Holmes to the Stark County Housing Authority, subject to Mr. Zander stepping aside.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ken, I'll give you another one of mine.
All right.
Stark County Systems User Policy, Joetta Piercy. Hi.
Hi, Commissioners, Joetta Piercy, HR Director. You approved this policy in January, and then the state's attorney did ask that I add paragraph number, ended up being 4 to this policy, specific to the state's attorney and the sheriff's office. So due to their sensitive and confidential information transmitted via email, telephone, or by other electronic means of the Stark County Sheriff's Department and Stark County State Attorney's Office, the following policy applies. Prior to monitoring, gathering, or viewing any of the correspondence, permission must be granted by either the relevant office or relevant agency. And this does not shield them from any applicable open records requirements, though.
And I can give you Jim and I had a long talk about it. We have, emails transmitted that have victim information, which is under Marcy's law, the North Dakota Constitution. We have forensic interviews that involve children that are protected by federal law. We have medical records. We have all of these things that are transmitted via email and things like that, that I cannot sign off on a policy ethically. I think I would put my law license at risk, quite frankly, that allows just anyone to monitor or look into these emails without our permission, because my office and I know Corey's office has the same thing. We have private information that needs to be protected, and just because you work for the county doesn't mean you're necessarily going to have access to it. So that was the reasoning for me requesting that language.
So is this essentially an amendment to the current policy, and that's it?
Yes.
So,
yes.
a motion would be in order to include paragraph 4
Yes.
to the Stark County Systems User Policy.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Is there any more discussion? If so, I will ask for roll call vote. Commissioner Marsh?
Aye.
Commissioner Zander?
Aye.
Commissioner Franchek?
Aye.
Commissioner Messer?
Aye.
Chair votes no.
Thank you.
Emergency Assistant Agreement Renewal. Shauna Davenport?
Morning, Commissioners. Shauna Davenport, Director of Emergency Services. This memorandum of understanding for emergency assistance is between Adams County and Stark County. We already have a current MOU with that county. This is just an update on signatures. The last one was signed in 2018. The information within the agreement has not really changed. Everything that is covered is just if we exhausted local resources, then we would have the ability to call out to that neighboring community to assist us in any incidents that we may be having or emergencies. And it just outlines the compensation that would be required in those circumstances, and then anything else related to the legality of ending the contract or sending our people back to our county if needed during the emergency and things like that. Do you have any questions for me?
I see you,
Go ahead.
I see you've talked to everybody in Adams County about all this already.
Actually, this was presented to me from Adams County, so they approved it on their own first and then are sending it to you now to approve, so.
Okay,
Yep.
Commissioner Messer?
I was just gonna say, this does not substantially change the current. Okay.
No.
You need a motion to authorize the chair to sign.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
also move that we authorize the chair to sign the emergency assistance agreement between Adams and Stark County.
I'll second. Or Dean got that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then my next item on the agenda is the electronic communication retention policy. So I'll speak to that before we get to Ms. Arthad's addition of the records request. We, as a IT committee, received a request from the state's attorney's office to compose a policy that would cover our record retention on any electronic communications. That would be like your emails, text messages. These can be personal as well, as long as they're related to Stark County business, any kind of social media messaging, voicemail messages, etc. According to North Dakota Century Code, the county has the authority in how long we're going to make this policy stand for. It's pretty broad, century code, but it just leaves it up to us. Many of us within the IT committee did reach out to other government agencies and ask them what their current policies are. Some were at 30 days, some were at 90, some 60. So we went with the state's attorney's recommendation when drafting the policy of the 90-day period. Just to confirm, this in no way means that we're telling employees to go out and delete their messages after 90 days. It's just basically putting this policy in place in case they need to because of storage room, or if they're just ready to be done with that issue at that time. And it would just cover us more liability wise. I don't know if you want to touch on that at all, Amanda? Okay.
I have a question.
Commissioner Zander?
So, after 90 days, we can trash everything? Is that basically what this allows us to do?
I mean, everything related to electronic. So like if you're, for say, emailing about a case or a financial document, those original documents that you're speaking to are still going to follow the general retention schedule that's required by state law or federal law. But email that just is correspondence about it, so we don't have to follow that retention schedule.
So, I watch, maybe the wrong news channel, but I watch Fox, I'll say it. Anyhow, I see all these politicians and government employees where, all of a sudden, email from 13 years ago appears. What? Is somebody gonna, if I delete a message, is somebody else got that message and gonna keep it so it's recoverable?
Maybe I can, so our
why don't you
county
talk to that?
emails are already all backed up on the server. So those are gonna be there for however long Consolidated keeps them. We've been getting a lot of open records requests lately that have been asking for things like personal text messages, personal emails from think one I had from like 2012 to present. Well, if I have a policy that says, look, we only make the county employees retain their text messages for 90 days, I can point to that and say, here's what I have from 90 days forward. I'm not gonna make you try to go back and look and dig and figure out if you have something from all of those years past. And when this first came up, I reached out to Aaron Burst. I reached out to some other state's attorneys. Aaron Burst said, yeah, I usually say 90 days. 90 days is a good policy because it gives you the individual some time that wants to request it, but it doesn't have so much time where you're asking your employees to use up a bunch of their memory or their storage or things like that. So, obviously if a notice would come in of like impending litigation, then that would go out and it would essentially stop everyone from deleting anything whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where this policy originated from, was just the abundance of open records requests I've been getting, specifically even for those.
Just a quick follow-up question then about that. So if Joe Citizen wants all of my email electronic traffic and all I can do is provide 90 days worth of it, does that concerned citizen have any recourse to go to the server, as you guys pointed out, to
Well, when I get an
recover
open
that?
records request now with Consolidated, I've contacted them and they run a huge search that searches all of their servers for back until perpetuity or however long they keep them, and then they send them to me, and I can tell you those are overwhelming, because the last one with Marathon, we dug through 26 hours of emails from the county email to try to figure out what was relevant, what wasn't, what needed to be redacted, what didn't, things like that. So, I mean, your phones aren't gonna be, unless there's a court case, right, where you get issued a subpoena or like a search warrant or something, then that's a different mechanism where they'd be looking for your records through Verizon or AT&T or whoever it is. But I don't know. Did I answer your question?
I don't know. The thing that bothers me about this kind of a policy is it gives us the appearance that we're trying to hide stuff. And we're trying to insulate ourselves from full disclosure, from public view. And
I guess my argument to that would be, right now there's no policy in place. So if you want to clean out your emails and text messages every night, there's nothing stopping you.
I think we could,
I'm just uncomfortable with, putting a date stamp on it, I guess, is my issue. I understand the overwhelming workload that this puts on staff, but I also understand that, people have a right to this information, and I'm not so sure that I'd want to vote to take that away from them.
I guess I actually looked at this as more of a fail-safe, because then there is a policy that says that you have to keep your text message and emails. Right now, there's nothing, so that doesn't prohibit anyone from deleting anything, if that makes sense.
So why doesn't our policy say we can't delete emails, period?
Well,
Ever.
so I think maybe we're getting confused, because the county emails are going to be backed up on the server no matter what. I'm more worried about like text messages that get sent, or private emails or Facebook messages that deal with county business, because a lot of open records are starting to ask for that. And then we're getting into the area where how much memory and storage are you going to make your employees, how long are you going to make them keep all of this stuff?
Right. And then just to throw one more thing into this is that, we all have
Right.
these. And so if the party seeking this information doesn't get it from the county system, then they're gonna come after my personal.
Well, they'd have to
email.
come with a subpoena or search warrant, or the AG's office would have to. That's why, like I said, I think this is a safety policy, because then you can point to the policy that says, well, I kept it for 90 days according to the record retention that we put in place. I don't have it anymore.
But I also know a former county commissioner that somebody went after his personal stuff, and the state's attorney's office, not
Yep.
you, but the upstairs, said, yeah, you need to provide your personal information.
Right, which is why I was asking for this policy, so that we have a set amount of time that people have to keep that. First of all, let me just preface this with, all county business should be going through the county emails anyways. That should just be done, because
Well,
it makes it so much easier. But I think it's naive to think that there aren't messages sometimes back and forth on text messaging devices or things like that, because that's what happens in today's day and age. So when I get an open records request that asks for all personal text messages, things like that from, 2012, I don't have a policy to point to say, well, I'm not gonna be able to get you anything up until, except for of the personal nature, right? On your text messaging, of your Facebook messages, of your personal emails, except for 90 days. Obviously, you can have whatever our server has backed up through the public, or through your county emails, because we've got protections in place for that. So it's up to you guys. I'm trying to make everyone's life a little, what I consider easier, and more clear. But if that's something you're not comfortable with, then we're just not gonna have a records retention policy on text messages or electronic communication.
I mean, I think right now we have a server that's up with email, and it didn't get brought in front of this board. It just got in front of, there is email on there. It maybe can be brought off there. It may cost them Stark County taxpayer money. There should be no maybes. If it's on there and you have somebody that is needing that information for possible litigation, there shouldn't be a no to that person.
I don't know that there was a no. I think what was explained through Consolidated was the fact that we've had 3 IT companies in the last year or two, and there was some significant issues with emails when it was brought over. If the board if you want to bring a motion to the board to look for all of Tom's emails and pay Consolidated, I don't have any issue with that whatsoever. But Consolidated was telling me that they couldn't access them. They didn't have them, that they were gone. And I think there was other employees, one within this, maybe the sheriff's office, that had the same issue.
I could also add that prior to Consolidated coming on board, our backup retention for emails was only set to 1 year. So once Consolidated took over, we moved to an infinite cloud storage. So now it will be infinitely kept in the cloud. So, and that happens every night. So as long as you don't permanently delete your message that day before it backs up that night on email, it's going to be in our infinite cloud storage. And then they can do the e-discovery process on that information.
And when did that start?
That began when they started, which would be, maybe a year now almost, because we're about to renew the contract, so.
Commissioner Messer?
Yeah, just a quick question. Number one, do you have a recommendation on this? Because I'm kind of about halfway between Commissioner Zander and Amanda. I think 90 days is kind of too short, but I do agree that there should be a time frame on it.
Yeah, and the 90 days, of course, is something that you all can decide to extend. That was just the recommendation from her, so that is what I put in. Personally, I guess I completely understand your concerns 100%, but then I look at people that are working on a state level above us, and for instance, like BCI is only keeping theirs for 30 days, and the government's office 30 days. So that just seems to me like, if they're doing it, why would we feel like we shouldn't have that type of policy? And that's just how I feel personally.
I just think that,
understand the rest.
there wasn't, little over a month and a half ago, Stark County was in the paper for public records and not being transparent, and you know what? There was an AG's opinion on it that said we did not follow. And I just think to protect the county, I think we need to categorize as phones, text messages, emails in this, and we need to go and send it in, and we need an attorney general opinion. And that is the only way that we are going to make sure Stark County is protected, and we don't agree with the IT committee and this board that we are not 100% following the law when it comes to record retention.
I mean, essentially, as you all know, it's up to you. So I'm just doing my duty
Yep.
as requested, so.
So if we put X amount of days, X amount of months, X amount of years in that policy, that would be a compliant policy
Yeah,
regarding the state.
it's as the Century Code states, I'll just read it to you. The administrator shall establish a uniform program of standards, procedures, and techniques for the effective management of county, city, and park district records. All county, city, and park district offices, departments, and agencies may establish, utilize, and maintain the uniform program prescribed by the administrator. So it's very much just to your discretion.
And then we get to different parts of Century Code with record retention that is much more strict. I mean, it's way more strict. It's like you do not, so it's just like, I just think that if we just get a clean cut, clear AG's opinion,
We're
then
already following the records retention. This is just the text message. Anything that you're sending on those emails or text messages, Karen just asked me the other day if it was okay to send minutes from, 1910? Those records that you're talking about already have a rent retention schedule that we are following, and we're following it strictly. I have files in my office that I have to keep for 7 years. That's completely separate than this statute that allows the county to decide how long to keep their text messages, the emails, and things like that. There is a record retention schedule.
I just
That's
think we
already
should,
set out.
I just think we should get it verified.
I'm not gonna ask for an attorney general's opinion on this. The statute is clear. I've spoke to Aaron Burst, I've talked to other state's attorneys. There's record retention policies that are all over the IT, North Dakota IT website and the Century Code that we follow, that the law is clear. When you ask for an AG's opinion, it's because the law isn't clear. The law on this is clear that the county has the ability to decide what they want to do as far as a records policy.
The law might, all due respect, the law might be clear to you as the chairman of the board. I'm not going to speak for the other board members. The law is not clear to me. I do not want to go and have people delete. Same thing with Marathon. I mean, that just happened 2 months ago. And you had said, Amanda, you sent me a message. If I don't get all those text messages sent to you from last July, I could be a criminal offense and this and that. And I looked through everything and got everything to you. And I know this was not in place yet. I understand that.
I'm not gonna get into this at this point because I have text messages that other people sent me that you sent them that you didn't hand over. But I'm telling you, the law is clear. I have reached out, and the AG's office is not our legal advisor. I am. The only time the AG's office is appropriate to ask for an AG's opinion is when there's a conflict of law, and there isn't one here. So it's not, I'm not gonna burden the AG's office with asking for a legal opinion when the law is clear on it. And I'm the only one at the county level that's authorized to ask for an AG's opinion. And it states, it states that it's appropriate when there is a misunderstanding or a conflict of law, or when the board hasn't been properly advised of the law by the state's attorney. I've advised you of the law. What you guys want to do with it at that point is up to you.
I have a misunderstanding and I have a conflict.
So,
I don't have anything against you and you're legal. I think you do a great job, but I just think that a county commissioner, you're right, we cannot ask for a legal opinion.
Right.
Carla, can I ask a question about the text messages?
so
Is
can I jump in for a sec? So, I don't see how we're gonna come to resolution on this today. But, our current policy, and maybe we don't have it in the form of a written policy, but currently, all of our electronic messaging is retained. Is that correct?
No policy. Our emails are retained, your county
Okay.
emails are. What you do with your text messages on your phone, you do.
Well,
And that's why like I said, because of all of the things with Marathon One Energy and asking for all of these private text messages and things like that that contain county business, it seemed like it was a good protection for the county and an easier process to say, this is how long we make or demand that the employees of Stark County keep their electronic messages.
So I think that's where my confusion was. So if there's nothing in place, and let's say you could delete it tomorrow, right? You had a conversation, you could delete it tomorrow. How could, say, Carla get in trouble from not having text messages from last July if she could have deleted them?
I send out
next day.
when I do that, when I send that out, I send it out as a reminder to say, if you have text messages on your phone and they are not turned over to me, that you haven't deleted, right? You still have them. There could be potential civil and criminal penalties. That's what it says. That's what the law says.
I'm just saying if let's say she deleted them because there's no policy in place,
that's what it is.
then nobody can come back and say nothing can come after you unless if they had wanted to pay the cell phone company to look up all those.
Well, not
text
even that. Then you'd need a
messages.
court order.
A court order.
It would be if someone knew that there was an open records request in place, and then people started deleting their text messages or willfully weren't handing them over. And that's what I'm trying
they
to
still
express.
have
You still
them.
have them.
Okay,
Right.
That's what I was wondering.
well, are text messages recoverable too? I mean, from.
Well, I'm not gonna start sending subpoenas to Verizon or AT&T. If the AG's office wants to or a private attorney wants to, then fine.
Okay. But let's just say if I want to recover past text messages, do I just go to my phone provider and say, hey, send me everything?
I don't know. I
I
suppose
don't
that's
need
up to your.
I don't need a court order to gather my own information, do
I don't think so. I can't imagine that you would. Yeah.
They'd probably charge you a fee though.
Yeah, probably.
It's a
Well, I
complicated
think we
issue.
should have a policy.
I'm not saying we shouldn't have a policy, I'm just
And-
not.
And if government is 30, I mean, like the state, a lot of state stuff is 30 days, we're tripling that with the 90 days. Do we want to go to 120 days? I think that's just a question that we have right now is how many days we want to go, but I think we should have a policy in place.
I just have a big issue I don't know what the problem is, and you are right, the county commissioners can't get an AG opinion, so I don't know what the problem is of getting an AG's opinion. If all the research is there and everything, he is going to be able to check off a box and say, yes, this is right, no, this isn't right. It's the protection of the commissioners to make sure we're doing everything right.
Well,
It is the job of the state's attorney, and it is the job of the AG to give us that insight.
I can tell you that it says right from his website, some situations are unsuited for an opinion. This includes when the question presented should be or already has been addressed by the political subdivision's legal advisor. That is what I am doing. It's unsuited for
I
an
think we're
opinion.
talking apples and oranges here too. So the apple is we need to put a policy that has a time limit on the data that Amanda's bringing forth. The other part of it is, that, the issues that you're talking about. So I'd like to see us move forward, put a time frame on it, at least as a starting point, so that we move forward in the correct, righteous position, so that we have some guidelines for not only commissioners, but all our employees, our department heads, all this kind of stuff. So for me, Bernie, I would err more on the side of caution. I would start at 180 days. That would be me, but I'm just one of five, whatever it is.
so
I think that's too
getting,
long.
Okay.
getting back to Attorney General opinion, I'm guessing, what the attorney, you can make the request and they'll just send you a letter back and say, no, we're not giving you opinion on it. Because,
It's essentially kind of a misuse of their office. I mean, I've already advised the commission.
but they have done that in the past where you can make a request and they'll just send you a form letter back saying, no, thank you.
That takes time from my office and from their office.
Oh, I
and-
understand.
Yeah.
But that's where it would go. in my opinion.
But it protects the county and it protects us commissioners.
I'm the legal advisor. I'm the protection for the county. And I've thoroughly researched this.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we adopt the aforementioned policy with a time frame of 180 days retention policy on personal devices.
Do you want to clarify electronic communication records? or you
However
just-
we should
okay.
word it. But
What was the time frame?
What's the electronic, what is the?
180 days. I'll start
That
there
would
and I'm open
include,
to.
I'll just read what it says on here, includes but not limited to email, instant messaging, social network, messages, text messaging, work and personal if related to Stark County business, and voicemail messages.
I'll look for a second for discussion.
I'll second, but I think it should be shorter than 180 days. I think 120, 100, or 90.
You have on there electronic, with email. So are you talking about work email? Are you talking about personal email?
Yeah, well, technically, it's either or, because even if you go into your work email and delete it, it's backed up on our sites, so it doesn't matter. It's just, in regards to how we are as an IT committee, it's just promoting efficiency and making sure we have valuable storage on our devices instead of expecting everyone to keep it in their inboxes and all folders.
Why are
Just
we
be
even
backed
talking
up.
about this if it gets backed up immediately in the evening?
Well, because
On the email part of it all?
Talking about personal stuff, though, the text isn't, and it's not, you're talking about the email for the county, and we're talking about, this is for your personal texting, and,
She said work and personal.
It's both.
but it's backed up, that part is backed up, so you'd have it.
So it's basically just telling them if they don't want to keep it in their inbox, they can delete it because it's backed up. We already know that.
I'd be okay with this motion on the contingency of an AG's opinion.
I just think it's too long.
You've got a motion and a second, but
Oh, we can
I'm
make a
not comfortable with
recommendation for something
it at this point. I need more assurances that this traffic is recoverable by the public, and that is there going to be an expense borne by the public to, and when I say the public, I mean the person or persons soliciting the request, if they want this information from a year ago or whatever, it's recoverable based on what you're telling us
Yes. and I
off of a
confirmed it.
server. Does that person then incur a fee to get that? And currently, we do have a fee for all of the recoverable open records, correct?
Right, so the first hour is free, and then it's $25 an hour after that, and we have been charging that, and actually that will segue into Consolidated's contract, because of the amount of open records I have been getting.
Yeah.
They are now adding to their contract, I think it's a per hour labor, that they are gonna charge for them, when I ask for open records to go in and do searches,
Well, the
which is
fee-
borne by the county.
Yeah, but, your fee on that is a whole nother issue, because unless you're working for $25 an hour.